What's up, family? I want to welcome you to another episode of Another Avenue. This is the podcast where we practically and intentionally engage the art of yielding because God's word directs our paths. I'm here with Jalen Oliver. It's another episode.
I'm here with Byron Jackson.
Hey, man, it's another day's journey.
I'm glad about it.
I'm
Yes,
telling
sir.
you. Man, listen, it's good to be back. It's another week.
Good to be back. Yes.
And we're going to engage some more stuff today, man.
Absolutely.
Had a good weekend. It was a busy weekend. We had a leadership workshop. Our young adults led worship, though.
Give it
That
up for
was
the young
dope.
adults. Give it
That
up
was
for the young
dope.
adults.
Yeah, they killed it
Absolutely.
yesterday. But not only did they kill it, and I was reminded that I'm not a young adult anymore.
Nah. Can you remind the people how old you are?
I'm 33.
And he's not a young adult.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
33. I'm not a young adult.
2 whole kids.
2 kids, a wife.
A wife.
A hamster. Mila has a hamster. Yeah, I know, right? His name is Gerald.
Come on, Jerry.
Right. And my brother started calling him Deacon Jerry.
Deacon Jerry.
Deacon Jerry, yeah. So anyway, but man, listen.
Mhm.
You preached your behind off.
My Lord.
That sermon.
Mm.
What was it from?
What was it from? Luke chapter 5, verses 17 through
Yeah.
19.
And we spent the whole weekend in Luke chapter 5.
Oh, it's a blessed book. Blessed chapter.
Man, we spent the whole weekend. So our leadership workshop was based off of the first portion of the chapter, where Jesus calls his first disciples.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting, seeing what Jesus did and how he did it. But also the obedience required from Simon and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about managing the catch,
Yeah.
how we need collaboration and we need other people and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that was a really dope day. But you come,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't talk about this beforehand, so it was really cool for me. But the middle part, right,
Yeah.
of Luke chapter 5, 17 through 19,
Uh-huh.
and the way you preached that sermon entitled,
The sermon was entitled, It All Comes Down to This.
yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to us about it.
It all comes down to this. This sermon was actually birthed out of a basketball game back home in Alabama, like many years ago. Not many. I'm not that old, but a few years ago, we were at a basketball game at my alma mater, my high school, and we were playing our rivals, and it was down to the wire, and it literally came down to a creative play call to get us the win that night.
I see it. Yeah.
So that's where it came from, and literally this paralyzed man laying on the side of the road with Jesus, everything he needs. Literally, I guess we could say across the street from him.
Yeah.
In the house, literally a creative play call from some friends that he didn't know, and he didn't know he needed until he needed them, because the people in the house clearly walked right by him and didn't see him or pay attention to him or think that they needed him or he needed them.
So the part I thought about with that sermon was what exactly is the this? And so my takeaway, you correct me if I'm wrong. My takeaway was that that it all comes down to is that creative play call.
The creative construction.
So in the text,
Yeah.
the action of his friends, the actions of his friends to not only pick him up and carry him, but also to get creative when they're told no. Go up on the roof, take the roof off, lower them down. And the way you handled that was so masterful. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here, but it was masterful. But one thing we talked about at lunch yesterday
Okay.
was the way that there's so many things in a text that we can miss.
Yeah.
Not that you missed it in your sermon, right? But the fact you asked the question in the sermon about this lame man who's laying there, I guess, on the side of the road. He's along the path of all these people who've come from all these different places, near and far, to be where Jesus is and to hear him teaching, right?
Yeah.
But the text says something interesting. He's laying there.
Yeah.
Here's the part that shocks me. He's laying there on a stretcher.
Yeah.
And you asked the question, how did he get there?
Yeah.
Right? But for me, it was, how did y'all pass by him and you wouldn't have to work hard to pick him up?
Because everything you need.
Everything you need, he's already on a stretcher.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to go search for one. You wouldn't have to go buy a mattress.
No.
You wouldn't have to go borrow something to carry him on. You wouldn't have to go take anything. You didn't have to do any work. Like, it was right there for you. He's already on it. You wouldn't even have to slide it up next to him and roll him on it, right? Like, it's already there. All they had to do would have been to pick him up. But all these people passed by him. And I love the question, how did you not see him?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, man, we are so busy. Busy in our routines, busy in our work. Can we talk about busyness for a minute?
Ooh, let's talk about it.
There was a time in my life. Now I'm still busy.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But there was a time in my life where I would pride myself on being busy. It makes you feel productive.
Yeah.
Makes you feel like you're doing something.
But
you end up finding out that you're just tired. And
Yeah.
you can be more productive and less busy. You can, I promise, I know it's hard for you to believe, but you can be more productive and less busy. Now, it may take more brain work, more mental work, more planning, more preparation, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we get a thrill out of that busyness, and it doesn't always prove to be as effective as it seems.
It makes me ask a couple questions. What are you running to? What are you running from? And what are you running for? Which are great questions to ask the people in the text.
I'm thinking. Go ahead,
Yeah. So the people who came from Galilee and Judea and Jerusalem, what are you running for? Like, why didn't you see this man? Why are you so quick, so busy to get where you? What are you running for? And then, what are you running to?
Wait,
Hold on. He saw something. He's here.
I did. But I heard something.
Okay.
Because yesterday you talked about how these people, because we learned who they were these Pharisees and these scribes, right?
Yeah.
So these people in the text, they're not running to where Jesus is to be with Jesus or to learn from Jesus. They're running to, in its general sense, to prove someone wrong. And I think a lot of times that's why we're busy.
That's why we're busy.
We're busy because somebody told us we wouldn't amount to anything.
Wow.
We're busy because we want to prove all the people wrong, that my kind of people or the people from my family or because of the kind of student I was when I was younger.
Yeah.
Right? We want to prove people wrong. And we end up just being tired. You accomplished, but you miserable because you have no peace. You're doing all this stuff. You got all these letters behind your name. You've got all these things, and you realize that, man, I'm just tired, bro.
And I think sometimes you do it at the expense of joining a band you hated. Like, let's sit with Pharisees and scribes. Imagine how many people never wanted to be Pharisees and scribes, but because it was a family, a cultural phenomenon, they just got with the crew.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think you talked about that too in the sermon, because you talked about how we have a tendency to become who we hate.
My Lord. Yes.
But I think at its core, therapy.
I
think at its core is just this human yearning for acceptance, right?
Yeah.
And so, I need my seat because that's where I'm accepted. I want to sit around the people I like. I don't really want to stop and have a conversation or help out a man who's lame because, number one, you're really not that important if you're laying here paralyzed with no help, right? Yeah. I'm in a rush to go and do something, which leads me to another question.
Okay.
About, addressing one of the ones you talked about. What are you running for? We talked about that. But what are you running from? Right? So it's almost like they're running in the text, especially these people who are challenging Jesus, they're running from the idea that they could be wrong. to go and try to challenge Jesus. To go be in the room with him where he's teaching, but to always be listening for offense.
My Lord.
Is to run from the idea that I could be wrong. Because you're in an educational setting with your mind made up. That's crazy to me. You're in a space for learning, but your mind is made up. You're not here to learn.
Wow.
Man, how many times have we been guilty?
Wow.
Right? How many times? Most of us don't want to learn anything new. We just create our lives and our social circles to be an echo chamber. I just want to keep hearing myself be right over and over and over again.
Which makes me ask, how did you feel the first time you were wrong? Who even brought your wrongness to your attention? And how did they do it? That makes you want to always be right.
Well, I think that a lot of times it has a lot to do with the fact that we've been told that we're the greatest thing to ever be created. I think some of the greatest damage we're doing to our children, and a lot of it was done to us, was that everything we ever did was great. Everything we ever did was beautiful. Dion Cole, the comedian, in one of his stand-ups talked about how your parents messed up because they put all your drawings on the refrigerator.
Knowing they were ugly.
Knowing they were ugly.
Wow.
Somebody needed to tell you that this wasn't good. Somebody needed to tell you. And so then we go out into the world with this idea that I'm always good. I'm always right. Right? And then when someone confronts us or someone challenges us or someone doesn't agree with us, then we can make them the problem. I'm in the text.
You in the text.
I'm in the text.
You in the text.
They came running from the idea that they could be wrong.
Wow.
Because you get there with Jesus and you're like, what this dude is teaching doesn't align with my belief system. It doesn't align with, he's using God language. But it's not in alignment with what I believe. And so therefore, they're running toward a reinforcement of their present reality. Mess me up. Because it challenges us to think about who we are and how we operate in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. But the point I want to get to today, actually, it has a lot to do with another aspect of the sermon, and I think this is where we'll branch out. Bear with us. Is you talked about the fact that these friends they came along, right? In case somebody didn't watch the sermon. In Luke 5, these friends come along, they carry the man, they get to the door of this house where Jesus is teaching, and they can't get in. The house is full, so they say, right? The house is full, there's no room, they can't get through the door, right? So they have to deal with, as you said, capacity limits. Because there's this crowd. They couldn't get in because of the crowd. Oh, that bless me. They couldn't get in because of the crowd. And man, the thing that I was sitting with all day yesterday was this crowd of people who are in the room with Jesus, who are running from the possibility that they could be wrong. Are wrong again. Because there's a man who needs to get to Jesus for real reasons, and with a real struggle, with a real condition and a real predicament. And they are so right, because all they drawings were on the refrigerator. They're so right that they believe it's right to get in his way.
How many times are we in the way?
Don't do it to me. How many times when in our lives Here's a question for today. When in our lives have we been in the way?
Wow.
I don't think we could talk about this without talking about church and its history.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Let's talk.
I'm not a church historian,
Right.
but based on what I've heard and I've learned,
We're not
okay.
church historians.
So when you go back to, 50s, 60s, 70s, and you look at this idea of what church was, it was a community of empowerment. It was a community of dignity for our people, right? Especially Black church.
Yeah.
It was a community and space of dignity for our people, where they were called all kinds of names out in the street. But when they came to the church, they were somebody's brother. They were somebody's sister, right?
Yeah.
Which is why many of our traditional churches still put brother and sister in front of people's names. And we a lot of times don't make that connection. But anyway.
Yeah.
So, but this development of the church over time, we've seen sort of a shift.
Yeah.
I think at its core, it's remained, at least it was meant to remain, a place of dignity and a place of honor for people, right? But now a lot about culture and our social predicament has shifted.
Yeah.
And so in our struggle to deal with that shift, and this isn't just older people, this is also younger people, right? In our struggle to deal with that shift, we have a tendency to be in the way.
Oh, my.
In the way. When you talked about all the things that they could have, that we could potentially hear them saying, you don't know enough. You're not important enough. This is my seat, right?
You should have been here on time.
You're late. If you had gotten here, right? And so I think we have to wrestle, man, with who we are and how, not just in church, right? No. It's bigger than that. Not just in church, but how in life, on our jobs, in our careers, in our families, man.
Yeah.
How we can get in the way. For instance, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me is when you have family members who had the struggle.
Yeah.
They've made it beyond the struggle. And now they want you to suffer in the exact same ways that they suffered. Not because they want to build your character. Because you could see the same thing and it can be for two different reasons.
Absolutely.
Not because they want to build your character, but because they are bitter about the path that they had to trod.
In the way. I even think of, I have family members who have told me several times that this was my plan for my life once I graduated high school. This is what I wanted to do for my life. But so-and-so was too afraid to let me leave. And now I ended up being here for all these years. And I literally, since high school, have been in this one place doing this one thing. And now the person who told me I couldn't go, they're a little older now, so I'm taking care of them every day like a nurse, when I really could have just been the person sending funds and sending money and providing in that regard. In the way.
Capacity limits. Our getting in the way often has to do with low capacity.
Wow.
Because capacity has multiple definitions. It's not.
It does.
It's not about the amount of people who can be in the room.
Yeah.
That's one aspect of it, right?
It is.
But the other aspect of it is, what can you hold or handle?
And some of our people cannot handle seeing anybody else go farther than we did.
Yeah. And so therefore, a lot of times, man, we don't even know how to celebrate each other.
It becomes fake, especially in preacher world.
There was a brother who stopped me yesterday, as a matter of fact, and was talking about how he appreciated seeing me as the senior pastor celebrate you, the executive pastor, genuinely.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's normal for us.
I'm like, this is right.
Yeah.
Because if I want to limit the church to only what I have to offer,
Yeah.
I'm causing the whole church to suffer.
My Lord. In the same way, if you limit your family to only what your family has done, has history doing, you cause your whole family to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, because we got to think about it. And there's two sides to this, and I want to deal with another side of this too in a moment.
All
but
right.
we always have to be mindful of how we approach other people's possibilities.
Say more.
The people, going back to the text, right? They couldn't appreciate the possibilities of what could happen in this man's life outside the door. Because they were inside.
Yeah.
And it's likely that the people closest to the door were the ones who told him he couldn't get in. Not the people closest to Jesus.
You barely in yourself.
Yeah, it's quite likely. Shout out to Josh.
Shout out to Josh.
Because he talked about how he thought you were gonna go a different way with that, because at the door there was no room, but when they let the man down, when they lowered him, right?
That was rude.
There was room. There was room. And you talked about the fact that either somebody lied or God made room, right? But Josh was talking about how what did he say?
He said sometimes it's the reality that they ain't that close to Jesus.
Yeah, you in the room.
But you're not.
My
you're not
Lord.
close.
I almost got up and started running. Like, yeah, you're in the room, but you're not that close to Jesus. I promise it's good.
That's good.
Right? So,
Wow.
Thinking about that. But they had no capacity. They're in the room, but they had no capacity to see the possibilities of what Jesus could do in the life of this lame man.
And I'm here now. I'm jumping.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
I think we have to be honest as a people, as Christians, as churchgoers, that we be lying. You not that close to Jesus.
Okay, say more. Say more.
You come to church, you serve, you're a ministry leader, you give, you're a top giver at your church. You're the matriarch of your family. Everybody comes to you for advice. You don't drink, you don't get drunk. You a very pious individual. You are a holy aristocrat.
Okay.
But you're not that close to Jesus. You eat Genesis for breakfast and Revelation for dinner. That's what Richard Sharp would say. But you're not that close to Jesus.
Well, I think your capacity will snitch on you. I think your capacity will snitch on you. And it snitches on us every day. I'm not just pointing the finger at anybody. It snitches on us every day. The people we think aren't usable. The people we think aren't fit for service. Have you read your Bible? Look at all the notable people throughout Scripture. And look at their brokenness, which says God has a huge capacity.
Yes, he does. He has a huge capacity. And look at the way we handle things like politics. We really show how close we are to Jesus.
Absolutely.
And we really show how close we are to Jesus.
Yeah. Your capacity will tell on you.
Wow.
And so they had to not only deal with capacity limits,
but
they had to engage in was it
crowd
control?
Yeah. Crowd control.
Yeah, that was good. And so we dealt with that. But I want to get to this creative construction.
Creative construction.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Creative construction. These people, these friends. I do want to pause parenthetically and say it's interesting that they were called friends and they had just met. And sometimes in this sense of community that we're in at 15th, the people that I think you talked about this in one of the resets, that you could be friends with somebody for years and they really not be your friend, but it's the person you just met, you just found out about. And that's really
because Jesus redefines family.
He redefined.
Yeah. Is it Mark 3? I think it's Mark 3.
It's Mark 3.
When Jesus is teaching in the house and his mother and his brothers come to the door because a few verses earlier, they had concluded that he was out of his mind.
Yeah.
Out here trying to teach people and tell people that you the son of God and stuff. Somebody go get him. So they come to the door of the house and they want him because they want to be quiet. You about to ruin the family name, bro.
Wow.
And the people sitting in the room, sitting around Jesus say, hey, your mama and your brother at the door and they're looking for you. And Jesus says, who is my mother? And who are my brothers? He looks around the room and says, these my folk. Oh, my Lord. He redefines family. My bad.
He
Go
does.
ahead.
He does. Creative construction. So they literally grab the man on the stretcher, and the Bible says they go up on the roof, and they go through the roof tiles, which means they have to remove the roof tiles, which I believe
I saw you.
It's a peel back. It's a holy peel back of every man-made something that stops people from getting to Jesus. It's a peel back of the culture that you put on your church to uphold that restricts people and enhances and influences segregation in the name of Jesus.
Can we pause real quick?
Let's pause.
So I did substance misuse prevention. Substance abuse prevention before I came to Tennessee.
Okay.
Shout out to ASAP.
Yeah.
Agency for Substance Abuse Prevention in Oxford, Alabama.
Okay.
For giving me the opportunity. But what I learned there, I had heard the word, but I learned it in a real sense there. This idea of stigma.
My Lord.
And how drugs are the issue. But the reason in a lot of cases we can't get beyond it, the reason a lot of times that people don't get the help they need, the reason a lot of times that people stay in addiction and don't make it to recovery is because of stigma. And it's almost like looking at the text as I picture it in my mind. It's like these four friends carrying this lame man were met at the door by stigma. Stigma was in the way. Stigma was in the way. And a lot of times, stigma is what's holding us back from loving other people. Because I can't love you with that. I can't love you like that. Failing to remember that Jesus, don't give me the cry, that Jesus loves me, all junk included.
Never drops us.
No. We gonna get there. We gonna get to the dropping piece. Like, think about it, man. And so it doesn't mean that stuff should be celebrated.
Yeah.
But my dignity is not diluted because of the stuff that's wrong with me.
I think throughout the Bible, we see that so many times God has to show us through inanimate objects that they're willing to give more leeway for the purposes of God than we are.
Say more.
These roof tiles
Yeah.
came up.
They were willing to move.
They were willing to move.
When people with legs
Wouldn't get up. The roof tiles were built
Yeah.
for covering for rain, blocking them from sun. That it's supposed to be there. They were actually where they were designed to be. And they gave way. Because he needed to get to Jesus. Not only did they give way, they stayed out the way. That's not good grammar, but it makes perfect sense. They stayed out the way after they were removed. But they didn't see their removal as you coming for me, or I'm not important, or am I gonna get put back? It don't matter. This man needs to get to Jesus. You were. I see it. It's all over you.
Well, I'm thinking about how they only moved for him after he was healed. Read the text. Jesus confronts them when he's lowered. Jesus confronts them and heals him all at the same time.
Right.
He rises up, takes his bed, and the Bible says he walks out the same room that there was no room for him to walk in, which means they moved. And how many times, my Lord, man, how many times do we only start loving people after they better? Failing to realize and failing to learn from Jesus that you can love them to life.
Yeah. Wow.
They only moved for him after he was healed. But I don't want to rush you. I don't want to rush you. We still on the roof.
We on the roof.
We on the roof.
The roof tiles. I love the roof tiles. They moved. Got out of the way. Got out of the way. They literally bring him up, carrying dead weight. Bring him up on the roof. Lower him on the stretcher through the roof tiles into the middle of the crowd.
No. You're taking me too fast.
I'm taking you too fast.
You're taking me too fast because we have to talk about this idea of dead weight.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about it.
This creative construction requires the carrying.
Yeah.
The lifting.
Lifting first.
Because we already carried him here. However far that was. Short, far, it doesn't matter. We already carried him here.
Yeah.
And now we got to figure out how to get a paralyzed man who's on a stretcher up on the roof. And then lower him down. You know, you said it yesterday, but dead weight is harder to carry.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think this is a good time to talk about the dropping.
Okay.
Because it's right about there. I probably would have dropped it.
Yeah.
And even if I made it seem like it was on accident. No, right? But I'm just saying, like, on a serious note, man, to realize how sweaty you get. How you get scraped. How you suffer carrying dead weight. And the thing our society is always telling us to do,
okay,
is drop it.
Cut it.
Yeah, right. Like we're always being told to drop it. Drop the dead weight.
Yeah.
But this is why I love good preaching, is because you said he had been dropped.
Yeah.
If he was on the side of the road on a stretcher.
Yeah.
But what the friends do that the previous people didn't do.
Yeah.
They lower him. They don't drop him. Yeah.
And I think it's a perfect picture of responsibly handling mobilization problems. Whenever we get stuck in the cares of life and it seems like there's no way out, we, as a community of believers, are supposed to responsibly handle people in those moments.
And I'm going to tell you why I love the word of God. Because it's always confirmed somewhere else. I think it's Galatians 5.
Okay.
If any of you are caught in a transgression, you who are spiritual, restore him. With the spirit of gentleness.
Yes.
Don't drop him. Lower him.
Can you imagine how a ride on the elevator would be if it dropped you?
Man. You talking to somebody who don't like elevators too. Like, yeah.
Airplane.
I don't like them either.
when they not falling out the sky.
That, yes.
It has to lower.
It lowers.
Lower.
And if the pilots know what they're doing and the conditions are right, it's a gentle lowering.
Well,
I do now. The one part I do love about flying, I don't love much.
Okay.
But the one part I do love is when you begin your initial descent and you feel this. It's just a gentle lowering, right? Totally different than turbulence.
Yeah. It's like it's getting lighter as you go.
Yes.
And what I love about the man is he says nothing. There's no complaint about how they have to do this. There's nothing from him that we see.
There's no complaint about how long it takes.
How long it takes. Why I gotta be lifted up just to get back down.
What I love, that's good. What I love about the fact that they're friends, as the Bible and Jesus described them.
Yes.
What I love about the fact that they're friends is he doesn't have to argue with the people who won't let his friends carry him in. He's not left.
No.
He's not left to do his fighting, right? He has the coverage of friends who will do creative construction.
How far are you willing to go for a friend? And I'm not trying to rush us or nothing, but I'm reminded of another friend.
Oh, come on.
Who decided to go to the furthest extent.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, it was so creative of them to even think of that, first of all. Who thinks to take the roof off the place and lower a man who's already on a stretcher, paralyzed, dead weight, into the middle of the crowd before Jesus?
Well, I definitely know, apparently, that where they were lowering him at was just that important. Because they lower him at the feet of Jesus.
At his feet. That's the way I want to be. At his feet. They had time. They made time if they didn't have time.
Yeah.
To lower him. Make sure you get there safely. And then stand around for an appreciation, a clap from him,
Lord.
when he walks out. We see nothing.
I like that the story, here's another piece. The story drops them on the roof. That's the last we hear of the friends after they had done their job. That's it. And sometimes it's our job to just do our job.
Just do your job. I got a homeboy that says, do your part. Don't worry about doing nobody else's part.
Yes.
You just do your part.
Yes.
Because that's all we can expect from you.
PQ English preached this text many years ago and called it Carry Your Corner. If there's 4 friends carrying a man on a stretcher, all you got to do
Carry your corner.
is carry your corner.
One right here.
One right there. One back here and one back there. That's it. That's all you're responsible for.
So I got a question, as I often do. Is your corner going lacking?
Yeah.
The corner in your marriage?
Ooh.
Is it going lacking? Because we love a 50-50 conversation when we talk about relationships. Is your corner going lacking? Is your corner going lacking in your kids? Like, can they come talk to you without you being upset? Is your corner going lacking at your workplace? Like, are they about to fire you? Like, you need to actually think about this. Is your corner going lacking at your church?
Yeah.
Because we love to say, I'm a member of so-and-so and so. But you go on vacation more than you go to Sunday school at Christian Richmond.
Because the only people, the people in the house, the crowd, are not the only people who can get in the way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's some people who should be friends.
Yeah.
Who instead of picking up lame people, paralyzed people, people with mobilization problems, they spend time standing over them, judging them for being paralyzed.
As if he wanted to be there. And I posed the question yesterday at lunch. Who knows if this man was even paralyzed before the drop? He could have just been sick.
and suffered a spinal cord injury.
He could have just been
After
hurt.
you dropped me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that now when you were talking about the dropping piece, it reminded me. I didn't know if you were gonna pull it out, but it reminded me of 2 Samuel chapter 4, where a little boy by the name of Mephibosheth, who is the grandson of Saul, King Saul, who when Saul and Jonathan are invaded and they're killed, the nurse who is taking care of Jonathan's son, Saul's grandson, Mephibosheth, she grabs him up and runs in order to escape the invasion. And you know what the text says?
What does the text say?
She drops him. And the text describes him there, but also 5 chapters later in 2 Samuel 9, the text describes him as being lame in both feet. The little boy was fine until somebody dropped him.
Somebody with good intentions. You mean well.
Yeah. And you know, we last episode we talked about potholes and the injuries we suffer along the journey.
Yes.
I think this week, more specifically and directly, we can also talk about when people drop us. We've got to deal with the fact that some of the people who are broken because they were dropped.
Yeah.
Some people are broken because as a child, they were dropped off at the wrong person's house.
And stayed too long.
They were molested.
Wow.
Some people are broken because they were dropped off for a summer trip.
With the church.
Let's talk about that. Right. And you know, as a result of someone who should have been loving you, Donnie McClurkin.
Yeah.
This is recirculating now.
Yeah, it is.
How he says the only man who ever loved me lusted me.
Yeah.
He was dropped.
And I think you should begin to have a whole lot more grace.
Yes, sir.
When you consider how many different ways, how many different people could have dropped a person. Yeah. And when you be honest about the fact that you too have been dropped.
And you too, in all your good intentions, have dropped some people. Yeah. Sometimes we were the only friend that person had. And our upward mobility and elevation made us drop them. And now they can't get right.
Sometimes you're the only parent or parent figure that person has.
And as unfair as that may be, especially when you're a parent figure, it's still a reality that a lot of times, man, we're dealing with, and I think it ought to give us as Christians, as believers, it ought to give us a new perspective that every day, no matter how polished they are, you're dealing with dropped people. Let that guide you, and let's let that govern our interactions with one another, right? Because these other scriptures about, if at all possible, as much as it depends on you, live peaceably with all people, right? All men.
Yeah.
It switches the way I have to think about that, because we approach other people as if we're dropped and they're not, so they're supposed to be better than me. When both of us been dropped, and we wasn't dropped on the same street. we weren't dropped in the same way.
No.
And we didn't fall an equal amount from the ground.
It makes me think of in sports. We see a lot of times in football, especially, these videos of people who are on their way to a touchdown and they drop the ball before they cross the goal line.
Yes, sir.
Like the audacity of you. I mean, you're eager to celebrate. You got good intentions, but you just dropped the ball. And then as a child, growing up in the country, you playing ball with your friends, and it's a day maybe after it rained or it rained yesterday, and you outside playing ball, and you're throwing the ball, and the ball ends up in a puddle or in dirt. And I think about the expectation of the person who drops the ball for the friends that day is for you to clean the ball because you dropped them. It's your responsibility. We're not gonna help you do it. You clean the ball. And then the audacity of us to not want to touch what we dropped.
Man, I'm from the country. So we were playing basketball in the backyard on grass of people who own dogs.
My Lord.
So there was poop.
Yeah.
It's a nice word. On the ground. And you playing 21. And somebody brick a shot. And the ball goes real close to where the dog was. And now the ball, because it was dropped, has poop on it.
Wow.
And then we have the nerve to look down on people as if they would have chosen to be dropped. Here's what messes me up, man. I'm trying to stay out my Easter message, I promise. But here's what messes me up. All the Lord called us to do. The Lord did not call us to die for them.
No.
The Lord did not call us to save them. The Lord just said, bring them to me.
One job.
Love them back to life. Bring them to me. It may take some work. It may take some effort. You may get some scrapes.
Yeah.
They may turn. Yeah, have you seen those videos of those stuck animals?
Yeah.
Anything pops up on your reels, right?
Right.
An animal is stuck in a tree, between the two branches of a tree or something like that, and someone goes to free them by taking a chainsaw and the animal gets scared and tries to attack the person trying to help them. You may suffer some scars, man, but all you got to do is free them. Creative construction, man, messed me up. Yeah, so it's it all and a person's life could all come down to this.
Wow.
Because the difference between, I think this is good too, the difference between him remaining a paralytic and him walking again was who was willing to carry him.
Yeah. No blame game. No preliminaries. No interview. No questions.
He didn't even have to tell his story.
We don't know his name. Don't know his educational background because it don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
We don't know if he's married. We don't know if he's same gender loving.
Man. Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. We don't know if he's Democrat, Republican, Independent.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
We don't know if he's got a criminal history. We don't know where he came from. And truthfully, it doesn't matter.
It don't matter. Tola Morgan preached this same text one time, and he said, the proof of a person's conversion is seen in their walk.
Yes, sir.
From the man to us, If you've been converted, if you've been healed, if you've been changed, if you've been saved, we ought to see it.
And you walk.
In the way you walk.
Can you walk?
Can you walk?
And how do you walk?
That's a good place to end.
Yeah, man.
Good questions for you to contemplate and for us to contemplate as we go through the rest of our days.
Comment some questions though.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're thinking.
Absolutely.
We want to know what's on your mind. We want to know what you're feeling and hearing as you listen,
Absolutely.
as you tune in, as you watch.
Absolutely.
Like and share.
And subscribe.
Yes.
That's the key. Subscribe.
Yes.
But also I want to encourage you to share this. If it's blessing you, as many of you have told us that it is,
Yeah.
I want you to share. We need you. We're asking you, not just for our good, but for the good of the people it can impact, right?
Yeah.
Share the link of this video since we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Share the link of this video with your friends, your neighbors. Text it out. Send it out. Post it. Do whatever you want to do. In hopefully a healthy manner.
Yeah.
Do that because this time is for us. We get to debrief a lot.
Yeah.
But it's also for you.
Absolutely.
It's also for you. Most importantly, it's for you.
Yeah. Help somebody get to Jesus.
Yeah. Don't drop them, but lower them at his feet and let him do his work. We'll see you next time.
Started like my daddy. Started like my daddy.
My pastor shorter than me too.
Am I tall? No, I'm not. I'm 5'10 and a half.
My pastor would say that tall people would know that they were tall if it wasn't for short people. Where did you think I was going? I'm interested.
So, you know how you was talking about letting the crowd stop them from being inside, but when they got to the top, there was space in the midst of the crowd. Meaning the crowd wasn't that close to Jesus. Meaning you can't let people that's not close to God trick you from being close to God.
That's good.
What? That's good. Just because you're in the house.
Don't make you close.
Don't mean you're close. What? Josh.
Boy, I'll preach that again.
Yes.
I'll preach that again. I'll give you credit though. I'm gonna give you credit. Just like I gotta preach the first sermon I preached here again and give Vic the call his credit. Cause he was like, you know something, we don't know that little boy's name.
My God.
That's good though.
That's real.
My Lord.